Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Matt. You're watching Broke Rednecks Prepping. We are coming to you from Spur, Texas, home of the Fighting Bulldogs, tiny home capital of the world, and, well, that's where my house is. So, anyway, what I wanted to talk to you guys about today are some firearms that preppers may want to get before the second wave of the coronavirus hits. A lot of people were talking about this coronavirus as being a real SHTF situation, but to be honest with you, I think the best way we could put it is SHTF light. I mean, there's been some roughage to it, but in the scheme of things, it hadn't been that bad. However, everybody's saying we're going to get a second wave in the fall, and I have to consider we may get a second wave sooner. Guys, they're saying that hot weather stops this thing, but take a look at the data from Brazil, Peru, Ecuador. I'm not seeing it. And unfortunately, I don't think a lot of our politicians are necessarily planning for a second wave to come quicker. I know in my own state of Texas, we were shut down for over a month, and our case totals more than tripled in that time. So it's not unreasonable to think that there's going to be some issues with that. Also, we need to factor in, we're seeing news stories on meat shortages. The Fed's basically propping up the stock market. A lot of people are unemployed. We're also seeing a situation where we don't have enough migrant workers. We may actually have a vegetable shortage before fall. So a lot of people have been asking me about home defense and personal defense and everything else. Now, I'm going to preface this with, before you buy a firearm of any sort, learn to use it and check your state gun laws. So I may recommend some things, and I tried to get kind of a variety of simple stuff. I didn't want to make it too complicated. But make sure that whatever you want to buy is legal where you are, and make sure you know where you can legally carry it. And if possible, get a license. Training's excellent to have. And it's always better to have a gun than not need it. Now, another factor you want to consider before buying a handgun specifically is access to ammunition. Guys, it has been hard to find common pistol ammo, your 9mm, 40 cal, that sort of thing. And I point that out, it can be purchased. I'm having to order some online. If you already have some ammunition or have a friend or somebody who can sell you some, that's cool. But make sure before you buy any firearm that you can get ammunition for it. But with no further ado, I want to give you guys some ideas about some handguns that would be excellent to have if we get a second wave come and we have a peak in burglaries like is happening, or a peak in violent crimes, which is happening in some places. Or we just have some social unrest with riotings. I mean, we've already had people fighting over toilet paper. Imagine when they're fighting over canned goods. Anyway, so a few thoughts that I have, and I'm going to explain to you why I kind of picked them. One of them, the first one I'm going to choose, is the Glock Model 48. Now, this is a 9mm handgun. I've taken it out and shot it. It's about a 4-inch barrel. It is smooth, it's compact. It shoots your standard 9x19 9mm Luger round that you can find in most any store that sells pistol ammunition. The reason I picked this is for some of you people that live in other states with tougher firearm restrictions. In Texas, we really don't care how many bullets a person puts in a gun, but I know in California, New York, places like that, they do. And again, I live in Texas. I haven't checked your own state laws, but the Glock 48 has a 10-round magazine capacity maximum. You can get extra magazines, and in fact, when you buy one, it's going to come with a couple extras, but it might make it a little easier for some of you guys in states with a little tighter restrictions. Also, it is a very slim profile. Again, checking to make sure the gun's unloaded. But if you look at this by comparison to most guns, it is very narrow. It's small, but not too small. I mean, I'm a grown man. I can still fit my hand on it comfortably. But the beautiful part of this thing is I can keep it concealed very easily. My niece, who's about 5'3", can conceal it very easily. We love this thing. It is as accurate as the Glock 19. I love it. You can shoot it one-handed comfortably, maneuver it around just fine. It also comes with a black slide. I really like this firearm. I'm not normally a fan of getting something too compact. The smaller you get, the more pop you have in recoil, and it makes it harder to reacquire a target. But as far as getting a compact handgun that's got a slim, small profile, but at the same time is big enough that I don't have to get an extended clip to grip it, I can get a good handle on it and shoot it accurately. And we took it out to the range and fired a lot of rounds through it. It does shoot accurately. The Glock 48 is probably the best one I've seen on the market. Now, another one that I'm going to show you, and I'm choosing it because it's different caliber, is actually what I've carried for work for years, It is the Glock Model 22 40 caliber. Now, again, I'm not showing you stuff that's competition quality or any of that. What I'm showing you is what you would buy in the store, get out the box. This is, I believe, a Gen 4. Anyway, the Glock Model 22 40 caliber is a great round. Again, 4-inch barrel. It's a little harder to conceal with than the 48, slightly wider profile, but I haven't had a whole lot of hard time concealing this. It is a solid, accurate gun. We're consistently hitting softball-sized targets at 50 yards with both of them. You can get a few add-ons with it, like the glow-in-the-dark sights or something, which I'd recommend doing for any gun you get. But it holds its standard magazine is a 15-round capacity. Now, I like this gun a lot. The 40 caliber, while I like the 9mm, it's a good round. The 40 caliber has a lot more knockdown power. It's going to hit somebody and just knock them over. Even if they're wearing a vest, they are still going to feel this thing. And with some hollow points, it's going to be a really nice handgun to have. So you can get most of these guns for somewhere in the $500 to $600 range, depending, sometimes cheaper. Look in your pawn shops, check Academy they really have some good prices on firearms. But you're also not going to have a hard time with this particular gun. This model's been out long enough. Finding extra magazines, replacement parts, things like that. That's vital. And the 40 caliber is a common enough ammunition. You can get it online. It's a step up from the 9mm, but it just has more punch. But across the board, you're going to see me in a lot of these videos talk about Glock firearms. And the reason for it is, and I hate to sound like a Glock fanboy, but the biggest reason that I like the Glock firearms so much is they just don't break. I carried them for years as a police officer. I've carried them in private security and other work. I've carried them concealed carry. They're just a fine gun. I've owned others that I like, and I could make an argument for why this grip's better or something else. But when you have some social unrest coming, you want something that's just not going to break, that if it gets dirty, if you drop it in the mud and have to pick it up and use it, is still going to fire. And you want something that if something does miraculously break on a Glock, and if you do, please comment and tell me how you did it, because I've had a hard time with it, you're going to be able to order and very quickly get replacement parts and not have to go rogue. You're going to be able to find a holster that'll seat it. That to me is very important. Third gun I'm going to show y'all, and for the record, for all of you Sig Sauer fans or some of the others out there, I am specifically picking firearms that are not terribly expensive. I'm not going with $150 high point, but I'm also not trying to point somebody in the direction of a $1,000 handgun. Probably a lot of people around right now don't have a lot of money, and so I don't want to try to push them in the direction of something they really can't afford. This is the Smith & Wesson 9mm. It's an M&P Model 2. Now, I picked this one because it has a slightly longer barrel. It's got a 5-inch barrel on it, which, as a 9mm, makes it more accurate at a longer distance. It isn't black, which I don't know if you care or not, but it also has a safety right here. Now, for years, I didn't carry guns with a safety, but with kids around, that's something I've begun to consider. And I know a lot of you out there, too, consider that as well. You want a firearm that has a safety. Now, this gun is a fairly narrow profile. It's going to be a little harder to conceal because of the barrel length, but not impossible. It's especially great for a purse gun. Now, I'm going to actually recommend this for a lot of women out there. And the reason for it is twofold. One, these grips, and when you buy one, it will come with extra grips. You can interchange them and make the grip wider or more narrow. It's also kind of roughed up, so if your hands are wet or sweating, you can still keep a good grip on it. A lot of people try to point women to what they call girl guns, a small one, a Lady Wesson, or something tiny, or as I call them, the noisy cricket. The problem with that is if a gun is, say, as it applies to this case, a 9mm. These guns are both 9mm, one's larger than the other. A lot of women are afraid to pick up the heavier gun because they're afraid of the recoil, and they end up picking up the smaller one. However, as I'm sure you know, a firearm, a bullet, a cartridge, is an amalgamation of parts with gunpowder in it. And what projects the bullet down range is the gunpowder. It's an explosion. The primer goes off, ignites the gunpowder, which goes boom, and the expansion of gases send the bullet down the barrel. If you're using a 9mm Luger round, say 124 grain hollow point, which is what I use, the explosion that sends the bullet down range is the exact same in this gun as this gun. This gun's slightly heavier though. And because it's slightly heavier, it's actually going to mitigate the recoil. Now, I know that's counterintuitive for what every man has told every woman in the history of firearms, but whatever. A little bit of knowledge. But because these grips are interchangeable, I have found that I can shoot this, my nephew can shoot it, my niece can shoot it, And because we can switch the grips off, we're all incredibly accurate. But even women who shot this who have slightly smaller hands or are afraid of the recoil are more comfortable shooting this handgun than they are something else. It will fit in most purses. Maybe not a clutch or something like that, but it will fit in a lot of purses. Now, this is a good accurate gun. It's also a little bit more intimidating than something smaller. And this is the kind of thing you can pull out and shoot accurately. Again, we are accurate inside a softball at 50 yards with this thing. It would just be a good gun for anybody to have. Again, you can get replacement magazines, you get replacement grips, you can find holsters for it without a hard time. And especially for women, it's a great purse gun. And if you're trying to displace and get away from a threat, making the distance between yourself and a threat greater, this is a fine gun because it's going to stay accurate at that long range, and the longer barrel leads to more accuracy. So, my 2 cents about the Smith & Wesson M&P 9mm Model 2 is one of my favorite guns ever. Lastly, and I'm going to throw this out largely because of ammunition availability, and it's not the only revolver I'd recommend getting. This particular revolver is a Ruger Security 6. I brought it out because it's mine. I really like it. It's a .357 caliber, but will fire 38 special. Now, I specifically picked this because, one, it doesn't eject shell casings. So if you're reloading and want to keep your brass, or you don't want to leave evidence behind, this is a fine gun for that. It's only a 6 shot, which a lot of people want more ammunition, but if you're in a state that concerns itself with firearms capacity for ammunition, a revolver is a good way to go. Everybody's worried about a gun that's painted black. Nobody cares about an old revolver, even though it's a .357 Magnum. This one has Packmeyer grips on it. Just little things where I can get my hand on it. Kind of fits me. You can get them wood handle. You can get them with other types of grips, and that's fine. You can put glow-in-the-dark sights on it. These sights are adjustable, right in here. I point this out because as we have gone around looking at stores, if you're not wanting to order ammunition, have it delivered to your house or something, I have been finding .38 and .357 ammo in small numbers, but I have been finding it. It's also got a 4-inch barrel. It's incredibly accurate, and the one upside to the longer cartridge and the power charge in my experience is it's also fairly accurate at a little longer distance. It's also a good gun for a newcomer to firearms to shoot. Anyway, that is my 2 cents on some handguns you want to get, but if you are concerned about home defense, there are a lot of good guns, and we have other videos about what you might want to get. But if you're probably not going to be carrying a shotgun or an AR-15 around in public with you, you're going to want something that you can conceal. You're going to want something you can afford to practice with that isn't going to break the bank buying. And you want something that's going to be accurate and work really well when you need it. With that in mind, I think these are 4 solid recommendations. If you have some thoughts, you agree, disagree, want to throw in your 2 cents, do please let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you.